we're going to get both practical and philosophical about a very important business communication topic, digital marketing. Hello and welcome to Talk Shop, the place where we connect with experts across a wide range of industries so that we can dig into communication issues affecting our work and our businesses today. For many businesses, engaging in digital marketing is an absolutely necessary part of their overall communication plan and strategy. Unfortunately, for many of us, digital marketing is rather mysterious. It can feel overwhelming or intimidating, or even distasteful, with images of phony feeling social media campaigns popping up into our heads. Well, here today to demystify digital marketing and to tackle really thorny issues like authenticity, ethics, and more is digital marketing expert Andrew Gottleib. Andrew Gottleib is a digital marketing expert and the founder of No Typical Moments, a digital marketing agency and California benefit corporation with special interests in social impact-focused businesses. Andrew is the co-author of the 2-Week Notice and is actively involved in many local and national nonprofits. Mr. Andrew Gottleib, welcome to Talk Shop. I'm really excited to have you here today because digital marketing in general, but digital marketing in particular, has a bit of mystique, let's say, among the plebs like myself who don't live in this space, who don't necessarily understand it, but kind of need to wrap our heads around it. So I'm gonna launch right into it because we have got a raft of really good questions, if I do say so myself. What is marketing to you?
Marketing to me is the ability to enroll an individual into believing that your product or service can get them from point A to point B and live out their deepest hopes, dreams, desires, and goals.
And this really is a fundamental communication activity within all businesses, right? Because if you don't get that message out, you can't get your clients.
Correct.
If it's such a fundamental activity, like if it needs to be baked into all of your communication plans, why is it that people tend to struggle with it?
Digital marketing or marketing in general?
Let's start with marketing in general and then home in onto the digital.
I would say it's, I believe people have if we build it, they will come mentality, which I would, if I poked even further, I consider borderline laziness in the sense of they might just believe their product, their service, whatever is just so good that everyone's going to flock to them, or they can just post, a simple Facebook text-based whatever saying, go check out my website and just expect people to come. Either I would say it could be ignorance or maybe even self-confidence issues of being able to put themselves out there and be vulnerable and do something, authentic that's going to maybe stir the pot a little bit and really speak to your avatar of an individual that you're attempting to connect with. I would also say people overcomplicate it in a lot of ways too, and not understanding the simplicity of all these free platforms that are out there and how you can effectively utilize them to connect with your ideal customer.
Well, it's a little bit overwhelming because on one hand, you say that they're simple. Can you talk about the simplicity of these platforms a little bit?
Sure. So when I say simple, that's coming from a millennial who lived on AOL Instant Messenger his whole life. So the idea of being online all day or in Slack or in Facebook or Instagram, that's just the way I've been brought up. So it doesn't feel hard. I would say the simplicity of it is, let's use an example of understanding how these platforms even work. Instead of thinking I need to create viral content. For example, we're actually retooling our podcast right now. And I may have mentioned this to you a few weeks ago when we were catching up, and it's going to be focused on marketing, in which I want to be interviewing CMOs or maybe it's a CEO who's still in the place of their running their marketing day to day. And so the idea then is, okay, how do I even go about finding and connecting with these individuals? So what I did is I just am simply sending direct messages on Instagram to like 50 people and
Mhm.
LinkedIn. And you'd be amazed at the people who have blue check marks and tens of thousands of followers who are writing back to me. Like an actor from Karate Kid uh, actually messaged me back. He was Mike Barnes. That's going a little
Wow.
deep into the Karate Kid. It's the third one. He was the bad guy. But I think that just shows of it's more from a strategic standpoint of how can you use these platforms effectively to get to your right person. So I'm not trying to launch a viral marketing campaign to get in touch with CMOs right now. I just know the ability to send direct messages that are influential and persuasive to people, and there's going to be a certain percentage of people who write back to me and are open to appearing on the podcast. In the same way on LinkedIn, there's search features on LinkedIn where I can filter out my 5,000 contacts, and anyone who self-identifies as a marketer, it will show me a database and a list of that. And then I can sort through that and see who do I know, who's working at a cool company, who's in senior level positions. In the same way, reach out to them through a private message and see if they're open to appearing on the show.
Right. So it's not just about necessarily the messages that you're sending out, but using those additional tools like the filters that will
Correct.
help you bring it into something that is manageable. Because I will fully admit, Andrew, I open up my LinkedIn and I see X number of contacts and all of this, and I am frozen. Like it
Mhm.
feels so very, very overwhelming. So the use of those filters of looking at what other tools exist within the platforms to make them easier to use is a pretty big one. Now, you
Mhm.
mentioned something earlier that really struck me, and that's because I was having a similar conversation with another individual involved in digital marketing recently, which was that notion of if we build it, they will come. I still see that message being pushed.
Mhm.
I get plenty of advertisements in my own social feeds as well as in my emails where, if you create this awesome online thing, people will come to buy it. Without that connection between A and, how do you get person from point A to point B? How do you even get them to look at it? And the person that I was speaking to, the thing that they were struggling with was their marketing department wanted them to just start putting out these posts about their company. And because it's good stuff and they're good posts, people will come to it. Yes. So I think that's where, then we try these things, we don't get the results. And I think that's where individuals who aren't in marketing really start to stall out. So,
Mhm.
in terms of outreach, in terms of getting your message out there and attracting people to your message, so they do want to look at your stuff,
Mhm.
what sort of points do we have to hit in order
Mhm.
to reach our intended target?
Mhm. I'll give a few examples of how this could be used. I would say the first one, um, where do I want to go with this? So let me give an actual example of what I did on our company page on Instagram for a podcast we released. So, what you need to understand is the marketing trends. So, I say that because attempting to get organic reach on Facebook is dead, and it's been dead for years on end. If you post something from your business page, you're going to get like 10 people who see it. However, what's happening on all the platforms is the short form video content is exploding everywhere, mainly because of TikTok and
Mm,
TikTok's exponential growth. So what Facebook and Instagram are doing right now is their algorithm is shifting to favoring short form video content in the stance of reels, which are essentially what TikTok tweets, whatever TikTok wants to call their message posting. So if you go to Instagram and you're attempting to get your message out there through the static graphic image, uploading it as a normal video, doing a story, you're going to get minimal results. But if you posted it as a reel, it's going to be exponentially higher. So on our own podcast, we interviewed Andrew Yang. Granted, our page has 100 followers on Instagram, and we posted the audio content as a 30-second reel, and it had 10,000 views on it. And you can do that through some specific tagging on the video, and hopefully the content has enough PowerPoint to it that it's going to get shared and become a little bit viral in that
Mhm.
sense. So with that too, the more you can focus on video content, and with Andrew, unfortunately, I did it like 5 years or so ago, and I wasn't thinking this all the way through that it should have been video content. He also had not run for president of the United States back then. He was just some random guy running a nonprofit. But in
How
hindsight,
could
I
you
would
not look into that crystal ball and know that those things
I
would happen?
wish.
Short form video and candidate for president.
Exactly. But if you can create that into video on the platforms, that's going to be really great. The Also posting these as reels within Facebook is producing the same type of viewership and virality versus just a text-based update sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'll give another example of understanding just the marketing trends and even the features of these platforms that create better engagement. So when we simultaneously upload those videos to LinkedIn, we'll get 45 impressions on it, like barely anything. What works really well on LinkedIn for engagement is creating polls.
Hmm.
Any poll I put out will have at least 1,000 impressions on it versus that video, like I said, will have under 50. So it's just understanding how the platforms operate. And I just do a lot of experimentation and messing around on my own accounts just to see what's working and what's trending and whatnot. So I can use it better and then speak to our clients more effectively of what they should be thinking about.
Right. So this is not a small investment of time and strategy in terms of people thinking they can just snap these things out. Like, you have to understand what is going on, what communication behaviors
Mhm.
people are engaging in, and accept the fact that these behaviors are going to change.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the tricky things there.
Yeah. I at the start of this year, I wanted to learn more about cryptocurrency and Web 3.0 and NFTs and just all that is growing in that world. And I still know absolutely nothing. And I feel like I've listened to a lot of interviews and read a book. And I got some really great insight when I was listening to Gary Vaynerchuk in a podcast interview. And he was saying, if you're trying to get into whatever it is, podcasting, social media, NFTs, crypto, real estate, invest 50 hours of your time to understand it so you can just enter it versus just going, straight in with no experience, no whatever. Like, spend those 50 hours just understanding what the heck is even going on before you start putting that money in. Like, if I would have in February put some money into the blockchain in whatever capacity, it would have just been flushed down the toilet. I might as well have just been gambling and put it all on blackjack and just hoped it was going to win. I feel like
Yeah.
if I put some money in now, I'd probably still lose it all, but at least I would be more understanding of why I just lost it all.
Yeah, that understanding of what's going on behind the scenes is really important, and I think it prevents a lot of the wheel spinning
Mhm.
that many people get into when they're trying to bootstrap their own digital marketing and digital communication efforts.
Mhm.
Because this isn't just flip the switch, make a reel, post a TikTok, and then things happen. Now, on
Right.
the No Typical Moments website, something you mentioned is scaling your message. What do you mean by that?
Mhm. By scaling scaling brands messages, that comes in a lot of our digital advertising campaigns. So it's really thinking about how are you building that community on all these platforms and subsequently the email list, website traffic. And for us as an organization, we're scaling these messages through Facebook, Instagram, Google, YouTube, TikTok. I think I already said LinkedIn advertising campaigns. And a lot of that, then, if you want me to go deeper into what may allow something to scale,
Mhm.
it starts fundamentally with the product market fit. Then it might go into the messaging Are you connecting with your ideal customer in the right manner? What type of creatives do you have in all these advertising mediums? And you have the targeting set up correctly on the back end, that it's getting in front of the right people based upon interest, search volume on Google, how to videos people are looking into on YouTube. And
Right.
with the way this works mathematically, then is let's say we have a goal in a client project where we want to have new leads coming into the business under, let's just say, $5. As long as we're hitting that goal, we can create scaling formulas with our clients to be able to say, okay, as long as our leads are coming in under $5, increase the advertising spend by 25% every 3 days. So that's the type of formula you can create that's based upon the goals and KPIs you set together to keep on growing and scaling that. But on the flip side, if our leads are coming in at $15, it makes no sense to attempt to scale that because it's not financially viable for the business.
Yeah, you're always tracing it back to what is that return? Does this make
Correct.
sense? Like worth the time, worth the money, whatever it might be. Now,
Correct.
the promise, and I think it's a promise that some more unscrupulous marketers, let's say, are still putting out, is that it's all about organic and that you can get tons of wonderful, highly effective, organic, free marketing
Mhm.
just by putting out a certain number of posts or by engaging with other people with, doing the churn.
Mhm.
You can do this for free as long as you churn out enough stuff. Is that still true? Or is it now necessary to engage in pay to play?
On some platforms. On Facebook, it's pay to play.
Yeah.
It's an extremely crowded market space now. Everyone's on Facebook. Instagram is owned by Facebook, so you can still create more virality on Instagram. So to answer your question, it depends on the platform. I'll give an example of TikTok. I have two friends that I did some leadership training coaching with. One of them is more of a life coach for just the average millennial. The other one works with he's a youth leadership coach. So both of them became heavily invested in TikTok strategies in the last couple of months, and one of them has already a community of over 12,000 people on TikTok. The other one, I think, has a community of 6,000, and they put out probably 2 to 3 videos every single day on those platforms.
Wow.
And TikTok has the ability to create that virality because there's just not as many people on it. And I was just speaking at a college a few weeks ago, and every single one of them is on TikTok, not Facebook. So just the youth and how much time they're consuming TikTok on their phone for hours on it every single day is super high. But the number of big players on TikTok who are producing that content is low right now. So you're going to be able to get just really low cost per impressions, and your content can spread very quickly on Instagram or on TikTok.
Mhm.
On Facebook, I would say it's almost impossible now to not pay to play. What you can do on Facebook at a very low entry point is if you have a video, you can do what we call a dollar per day video strategy. So if you're just paying $1 per day to advertise that video, you'll get thousands of impressions on that. So it does cost to play, but you can do it at $1 a day to start just building brand and getting your message out there.
Right. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be exorbitantly expensive or
Correct.
anything else. So let's shift a little bit to the, like quality of content, ethics of communication. I mean, anything involving communication ethics is endlessly fascinating to me. So I'm going to force you to talk about it now too. Now, first up, there's so much nuance in actually communicating your messages. So I'm curious from your end,
Mhm.
what are some of the best examples you've seen of creative digital marketing, of a message expressed in an unexpected way that has been really picked up by
Mhm.
people?
I'll give you an specific account that I love. This guy is it's called Knees Over Toes Guy. So it's a
Knees over
very
toes guy. Okay.
so he did that intentionally. I think it's such a genius brain name because what he discovered through all of his bad knee injuries over the years, and now he's 30 and dunking, which he couldn't do when he played high school basketball, is a lot of that is that his mentality is that having your knees actually extend over your toes is what's helping his knee and ACL strength. Because when he's playing basketball, your knees over your toe, every 30 seconds. And if you're not building up that strength and flexibility in the gym, then you're obviously going to be a weekend warrior who towards his ACL in your first basketball game in a decade.
Yeah, you're a surgery case waiting to happen.
Yeah. And what I love about his digital marketing, the first point is that he responds to every single DM anyone sends to him. And it's him. I've listened to numerous podcasts with him, and he's said numerous times it's him handling all of his community management still. I just shot him a note a couple of days ago to appear on the podcast. He kindly said no, but he still even took the time to write back to me in like a multi-sentence explanation of why it wasn't good timing for him. Anytime I tag him on social media, he like at least gives me a heart and like a awesome, love to see this. And he creates just so much free content every single day. I bought his book, and just through his book and following him on Instagram, I know the extent of everything I need to just go to the gym and be effective with his exercises. And it's just very inspirational and motivational. It's authentic. I think he lives his message that he's always posting videos of himself doing the exercises and dunking the basketball. So he's kind of the living, breathing example of what can happen with knee and ACL strength when you implement his methodology.
Well, and it's a wonderful example too of the effect of generosity in marketing. And
Correct.
I find that very often when we're talking about marketing, whether traditional or digital, it's always framed with that, well, are they going to buy the thing? Is this going to result in this explicit ROI? And so on. But as everyone who listens to this podcast knows, I'm a big Seth Godin fan, and he always refers to generosity in terms of putting your message out there. And marketing can be a very, very generous act. This fellow is putting out his best stuff for you to access freely, and in return, he is gaining loyal followers.
And I think what people misunderstand is that they treat marketing like sales.
Yes.
So
thank you. Yes.
So marketing is exactly that. It's supposed to be free content. It's supposed to be valuable. It's supposed to be informational. It's supposed to be engaging with your community, and it's building brand. Versus sometimes people are treating their social media channels just like a sales mechanism, and anything they do, it's just always a pitch. I see this from so many life coaches. Every single post they make always has a call to action to like book, your call with me, like buy this, whatever. There's never just a post for an engaging post. And that's marketing allows you to build brand too. Like I'm going to be following Knees Over Toes Guy for the next decade. I guarantee it. Versus I'm thinking of a different individual who I message. I just have gotten the hang of messaging like Instagram celebrities. And he immediately went in to try to sell me on his like $5,000 mastermind group.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was weird. And like this random back and forth we're having with each other versus Knees Over Toes Guy, like he's just giving. And I'm sure if you want to think, sales and lifetime customer value, like I'll spend by the end of my life, I'm sure I'll spend thousands of dollars with him versus this other guy just went in straight for the sale with me without having any context, and he'll get zero from me in my life.
It's that notion of playing the long game. And that's what marketing is. It is a long game of consistent communication that bears fruit down the road, but that's built up through an awful lot of goodwill.
Exactly.
Now, as you know, I mentioned this at the beginning, I cannot separate communication and marketing from the greater question of ethics. And I know that you run, like, ethics are a core part of your own company. As a communicator that specializes in the digital marketing medium, a medium that can very easily be exploited in an unethical way, either through, disingenuous posts or bad pay ideas and bad audience targeting. What are some of the ethical principles that guide your work within digital marketing?
Mhm.
Those hills that you will die on.
Um, I would say at the very starting point of it, is this actually helping anyone? Is it actually have a product market fit? Is it actually providing a solution to the individual who's the end user? I think that's just the basic bare bone of where it needs to start from, and then I would say from there, I would say a lot of it then is in that messaging. Is it creating is it aspirational content? Is it inspirational? Is it empowering the individual to feel better about themselves? Versus is it just like skinny girls in bikinis that is creating, self-confidence issues? Or is it guys with jacked muscles and on steroids and six-pack abs that as well are kind of creating that subconscious, just what would be the right word? Subconscious, just lack of self-confidence it could
Yeah.
instill in you by seeing that. So those are types of messaging and campaigns we don't want to be a part of. I would say the ability for that leader, if we're talking about life coaches or thought leaders and authors, that they're really living that message behind the scenes. And if they're creating something super inspirational, is that how they're interacting with the janitor at their organization? And then I would say lastly, I'm just kind of spitballing, but I would say that the realness and the authenticity that individuals are able to share in those marketing messages. I'll give who's a good example of someone who I think has really Lisa Nichols. I would give as an individual who I think creates really heartwarming, vulnerable, authentic content that allows you to deeply connect with who she is as an individual and put you in the shoe of maybe you feel like that right now. But then she also has a solution of how she's able to create positive change and momentum in her life.
Mm-hmm. So she does give you can get more from her, but she still gives you a lot of really good stuff and demonstrates that she lives this as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I'll give one
go
other
ahead.
example. Actually, there's an artist I was listening to in a Gary Vaynerchuk interview. I'm blanking on her name right now, but Gary was giving her the advice of her music is for like teenage girls, and instead of always trying to hype up her new album, her new tour, he was like, just create videos where you're dealing with issues that women experience in their day-to-day life, and just create, off the cuff Instagram, TikTok videos, just explaining how it's making you feel.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to allow her audience to see her as a real human being who still experiences the same daily challenges that they do, or even create videos that just speak to, like, I remember when I was 16 years old, and so on and so forth. Is it just going to create more relatability with your audience versus you being on this pedestal of Instagram Photoshop images?
Yeah. That sincerity, I don't even want to call it authenticity because that word comes with a lot of baggage now, but the sincerity piece of these kind of strategies I think are really important. And looking at a bigger market, some of the really big players, there have been a lot of companies who have been hammered for sending out these really conspicuous do-gooder marketing campaigns, and that have completely contradicted the company's reality. And the one that comes to mind, that it comes out every single year up here in Canada, is Bell Mobility's hashtag Let's Talk campaign. Bell Mobility is a telecom here, and they're very heavily invested in mental health. So their Let's Talk campaign is massive for 1 month every year. But what came out over the past few years is how toxic a lot of Bell's own HR, human resources practices are within their company. So now it seems completely disingenuous, right? They are not walking the talk, at least. So if you're looking at businesses who want to use digital marketing to drawing awareness to do-gooding campaigns like this,
Mhm.
what would be some advice you would give them in terms about getting the tone right, making sure that that message is consistent with their practices and so on, kind of trying to avoid the Bell Let's Talk issue?
Yeah, and that hits on the example I gave more kind of as an individual author thought leader, but on
Yeah.
a company-wide scale when they are preaching something and then behind the scenes it's the exact opposite. And your question, just to come back to make sure I'm answering it, what could organizations do to create marketing campaigns that actually align with how they're running their organization?
Yes, you said it much better than I did. Thank you, Andrew.
So I think a great example would be what Patagonia and REI do during Black Friday campaigns stateside. They shut down their retail locations
Oh,
and really encourage. Well, is it REI? I think it might be Patagonia donates all revenue to nonprofits on Black Friday, and then I think REI closes their stores to tell people to go outside uh, and experience the outdoors. So I think
mhm.
I might be speaking. That's roughly what they do
Yeah.
at a high level. So I think that's an example where they're both really putting their money where their mouth is, of taking a hit in revenue or profit for a handful of days to live that brand ethos of sustainability, going outdoors, appreciating nature. And then I know they have tons of initiatives and campaigns for their employees. I think if I'm remembering correctly, I think Patagonia has a surf rule of if there's like a nice swell, you're allowed to take off and go hit the ocean and the waves. So
Nice.
I think it's
The ocean
yeah.
terrifies me, but I like what they're doing.
So I think those are examples uh, of how organizations are living that message internally at their organization.
Yeah, make sure that if you are saying it out loud, you are also doing it quietly
Mhm.
inside so that everyone is on the same level. Well, Andrew, this has been a wonderful conversation. For people who are interested in what No Typical Moments can do for them, can you tell us a little bit more about your company, about where people can
Sure.
find you, where we can get your podcast, because it's a gooder?
Sure. So No Typical Moments is the company name, notypicalmoments.com. You can find me on LinkedIn. Those are the best ways to connect with me. We are retooling that podcast, and it's going to be called the NTM Growth Marketing Podcast,
Mhm.
which should be coming out around July 4th. We're conducting our first interviews in the next couple of weeks. And were you asking also just what exactly our company does from a service
Yeah.
perspective? Uh, Perfect. So we have become more of a full service marketing organization. So clients start off working with one of our fractional CMOs to get strategic with their marketing, make sure that the foundationals are set and secure. And from there, it can be a whole different range of digital marketing execution teams that we deploy in, from advertising campaigns to email marketing, creatives, website design and development. So it can go a handful of ways, just depending on what I would call as the organization's next best move in digital. That's what the fractional CMO is hired to figure out for you, and bring in the execution team to go in that direction of really the highest leverage thing that you can be doing in digital.
Well, fantastic. And of course, we'll have links to Andrew's podcasts. I'll link to the old one and I will link to the new one in the description down below, as well as notypicalmoments.com, the digital marketing services team that he has built there. It is wonderful. I strongly suggest you check it out. And of course, for everyone watching, thank you so much for participating. Thank you, Andrew, for being with us here today. And
Thank
if
you.
everyone would like to keep up with more great interviews like this wonderful chat we just had with Andrew, please head on over to laurensergi.com and make sure that you sign up in the pop-up, because that is how you will get interviews like this sent straight to your inbox first. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on this edition of Talk Shop, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Take care.